Later on, Dukhi Krishnadas, who is now known as Shaimananda, entered the same transcendental realm in meditation. Thus the transfer from one continuum to another depends on the traveler's state of consciousness. The Sanskrit literature abounds with stories of parallel worlds. For example, the Mahabharata tells the story of how Arjuna was abducted by the Naga princess Ulupi while bathing in the Ganges. Arjuna was pulled down into the kingdom of the Nagas, which exists in another dimension. The idea of parallel worlds linked by mystical travel explains how the worlds of the demigods and still higher beings are connected with our world. In particular, it explains how Jambudvip, as the celestial realm of the demigods, is connected with Jambudvip as the earth, or part of the earth. The vertical dimension in Bhagavatam Cosmology. The Bhumandala disk represents the exoteric domains of the earth and planets. In contrast, the cosmic axis, extending perpendicular to Bhumandala, is filled with esoteric meaning. It represents the path of ascent or descent of the soul. In addition to the orbits of the sun, moon, and planets, there are different worlds or lokas arrayed above Bhumandala along the cosmic axis. These upper worlds can be entered through mystic cities, and they are accessible only to persons of advanced spiritual consciousness. For example, Maharloka or Rishi Loka is the world of the sages. It is said that in this world, Lord Vishnu directly appears before his devotees and receives the offerings of fire sacrifices in his hands. The first three upper worlds are Bhumandala itself, Bhuvarloka, or Antariksha, where the planets orbit, and Svargaloka. In the vertical direction, these worlds are closely spaced, as we have seen before. Below the level of the sun in Antariksha lie Rahu, the abodes of the Siddhas and Charanas, and the abodes of Rakshasas and different types of evil spirits. The Bhagavatam places the latter abode directly above the atmosphere, and it does in fact lie somewhat above the upper reaches of the atmosphere as we understand it today. Beneath Bhumandala are 7 lower worlds, described as chasms within the earth. Since life there is filled with heavenly opulence, they are called Bila Svarga, or subterranean heavens. In Jyotisha Shastras such as Surya Siddhanta, these lower worlds are described as caverns within the concave strata of the earth globe. Chinese traditions speak of cave heavens, where a man may be seduced by beautiful women in an opulent setting. In one Chinese story, a person returning from one of these caves finds that generations have unexpectedly passed. This theme of missing time is found all over the world in stories of parallel worlds. The Bhagavatam tells a similar story of a lower world called Atala, where beautiful women will entice and exploit any man who enters. Beneath Bhumandala and its lower strata, there is the Garbhodak ocean with Ananta Shesha and Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. These divine incarnations are said to be inaccessible to persons who lack the qualifications to see them. The Garbhodak or amniotic ocean fills the lower half of the sphere of the Brahmanda. If we interpret Bhumandala as the ecliptic plane, then this ocean must lie in all directions in the sky to the south of the ecliptic. Between the Garbhodak ocean and Bhumandala are located the hellish worlds and Pitriloka, the realm of the ancestral spirits. The Vishnu Purana describes a path through the sky to Pitriloka. This starts just below the ecliptic, near the constellations Scorpio and Sagittarius, and it extends southward to the star Canopus, known as Agastya in Sanskrit. There is likewise a path of the gods, which extends north of the ecliptic to the constellation of the 7 sages, which we know as the Big Dipper. From there, liberated souls reach the abode of Vishnu in Dhruvaloka, the pole star. The Bhagavatam describes the vertical dimension of the Brahmanda as a universal form of God, extending from the lowest world at the soles of the feet to the highest at the crown of the head. In this traditional picture, we see the rings of Bhumandala forming the belt of the universal form. Here the positions of the worlds are indicated in relation to the universal form. The levels in the universal form are associated with the spinal chakras on which yogis meditate, and the spine itself is called Meru Danda, after Mount Meru, the cosmic axis. The ascent of the soul through different levels of the Brahmanda is analogous to the ascent of the life force through the chakras in the body. In general, the vertical dimension of the universe represents the path of ascent or descent of the soul through different worlds and different states of consciousness. It lies perpendicular to the plane of Bhumandala, which is the world of the planetary orbits. The greater universe. In pre-modern cosmology, the stars were generally treated as small nearby objects, shining with the reflected light of the sun. The same perspective is there in the Bhagavatam and other Puranas, but a few observations should be made to place this in its proper perspective. In this medieval European diagram, the stars are indicated by the signs of the zodiac, arranged around the boundary of the planetary system. These signs serve as divisions of the ecliptic, marking the movements of the planets. The Bhagavatam similarly places 28 constellations called nakshatras in a plane just above the moon. The moon completes one orbit in 27 1/3 days, and the nakshatras mark its day-by-day motion around the ecliptic. This makes sense in the planisphere interpretation, where the nakshatras serve as a clock face, and the sun, moon, and planets are like the hands of the clock. In addition to the 28 nakshatras, the Bhagavatam mentions a few other stars, such as the 7 sages defining the Big Dipper. These stars are also placed close to the plane of Bhumandala, and their function is to mark the turning of the Kala Chakra, the wheel of time. The pole star Dhruvaloka is mentioned as the fixed center of the time wheel, and is placed directly above the 7 sages. It is regarded as the abode of Vishnu, who controls time while remaining outside of time. The Bhagavatam therefore stresses that Dhruvaloka is fixed on the polar axis, and thus it does not recognize the precession of the equinoxes. According to modern calculations, Polaris is near the North Pole now, but for many centuries there has been no good pole star. The last prominent star to come close to the pole was Thuban, Alpha Draconis, which served as the pole star in about 2500 BC. It may be that the widespread idea of the pole star in old traditions refers back to this time. Although the Puranas generally place the stars nearby, we do find indications in ancient Sanskrit literature that the region of the stars is far away, so far that the sun and moon cannot be seen from there. For example, the Mahabharata tells how the hero Arjuna traveled to the region of the stars, which he saw as large, self-luminous spheres, unaccompanied by the sun or the moon. This account is supported by the Jyotisha Shastras, Surya Siddhanta and Siddhanta Shiromani, which greatly enlarge the Puranic estimate of the Brahmanda's diameter. Their estimate of this diameter comes to 10,000 light-years, or about 1/10 the size of the Milky Way galaxy. The Bhagavatam in its commentaries state that the Brahmanda is surrounded by 7 spherical layers of elemental matter, as given by the Sankhya philosophy. Each successive layer is said to be 10 times as thick as the one preceding it. Innumerable Brahmandas, each surrounded by its elemental layers, are said to be floating within the causal ocean in the unlimited spiritual world. Thus the Bhagavatam places the Brahma egg in the context of a multiplicity of worlds, occupying an unlimited continuum of space. In summary, the cosmology of the Bhagavat Purana is a sophisticated system of